Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It is time to grab your cup of coffee. See, I love and grateful. Grab your cup of coffee or tea, sit back and relax so we can chat about what is happening in the stars above. And it's actually not a very busy week, astrologically speaking. So it gives me a chance to dive a little deeper into some things. For this morning's show, you want to have your astrology chart, perhaps, but definitely have your human design chart handy, as we're going to be talking about the week ahead in terms of the movement of the sun and the earth into two new gates. Interesting gates, to be sure. And I sort of saw a theme kind of weaving in between where the moon is today and where the sun and the earth are going to be in human design, and where some of the connections that planets are making will be. And as well, on a whim, I decided to look closer at the black moon Lilith this morning, realizing that probably sometime in the last week or two, she changed signs, which of course I knew, but we haven't talked about. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into the Black Moon Lilith and take a look at what she is up to. So, good morning to those of you who are checking in early this morning. I see Christine. Good morning to you, Tom. Good morning to you, Marianne. Pam Saruba says, good morning, everyone. Still waiting on foot to heal. Dang Pisces ascendant. These things take time, right? And Narges, good morning to you. It's good to see you. Debbie Tippett's two meal. Hello. She said, "Let's hope it's quiet." Last week was a zinger for me, and no AC on top of it. Waiting for a compressor in 100-degree heat. Oh my goodness. Well, I feel for you, Debbie. I really do. When I was at my sister's house in Eastern Washington, which is really hot, but dry, right? I think you're probably more hot and humid, making it more miserable. Their AC went out the day I arrived, right? That day, the AC went out, but luckily somebody came and fixed it the very next day. So hopefully you get your compressor and get it replaced here soon. I know it can be miserable to be hot and not feel like you can get any relief. Today. So we start the week with the moon in Taurus. The moon actually moved into Taurus on Saturday. So we're actually winding down the Taurus transit. And today, that moon is conjunct Uranus. And almost like at this moment, it was at 25 degrees when I pulled the chart at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time this morning. And it is at 26 degrees that Uranus is sitting. So chances are the moon is actually sitting on top of Uranus this morning. And as fitting for something like this to happen, my husband could not find his car keys this morning. Yes, indeed. So I spent a good 20 minutes of my morning helping him find his keys. We never found them in the house, but he went outside. He decides he's going to take my car to work because he doesn't have his keys. And he goes out to my car, starts it, and then sees his keys on the windshield of his car. Then he realizes, oh, yeah, we were going to go for a bike ride yesterday, and the air compressor is in his car, and my tires needed to be pumped up a little. So he had put his keys there. We got on our bikes and we rode. We came home. He'd totally forgotten what he had done. It was hysterical when I finally heard him yell, "I found them!" I was so relieved because having to replace keys is not cheap anymore, right? The keys, like to the fobs that go to the newer kinds of cars, are anywhere from 180 to 300 and some dollars right now. So, ooh, wouldn't want to do that. So, Uranus surprises, right? So, take a breath. And that's all you can really do, right? Be prepared. We'll talk a little bit more about the moon in Taurus here in just a minute. I want to change things up a little bit this morning and talk about the main uh, entree first, which is about the sun moving into the gate 33 on your human design throat center, and the earth then at the gate 19, which is on the root center. And both of these gates together, they're When I really think about these two gates, it's interesting because the one of them is a Taurus Leo gate, right? The 33 is a Leo gate, and that means that the 19 or the Earth is in an Aquarian gate. And these two seem to sort of symbolize the times that we're living in at the moment. Now, because the 33 is located on the throat center, it is all about how we communicate, how we manifest, how we metabolize the energies that are going on around us. Now, we're going to look at the 33 through two different lenses. One, we're going to look at it through the lens of traditional human design because it's interesting in its own right. But then we're going to really dive deeper into what it looks like in quantum human design, because here we have the upgrade to the days, the times that we're in, right? Karen did a really good job of bringing in new words for symbols that represent this particular energy. In traditional human design, the gate 33 is called the gate of retreat or privacy. Doesn't never made sense to me, never really made sense to me, but I can sort of see how this energy came up. And so if it's on the throat center, we know it's something that's coming up either from lower in the body or energy that's coming down from the head centers or the head or ajna center and meets up in the throat to meet made manifest. And this gate is about really telling the story of our experiences, but literally linked to the past. So it preserves the stories, right? It has a historian sort of vibe to it where we have the experiences from the past, and then we hold those experiences, and then we share those experiences with others. But there's a problem here in the retelling of the story, or there could be a problem in the retelling of the story here, because often it is this story and it has a more negative, let's say, sway to it. And it comes from the fact that we tell things the way they happen to us, right? So we could tell the story of a job loss and all the things that led up to the job loss and how horrible it was and how bad we felt and how blah blah blah, right? But do we ever get to the point where, and this was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, right? Because now blah 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 is happening and it wouldn't have happened otherwise, right? So in this particular gate, often there is this need to sort of withdraw a bit and to reflect on the experience. And it suggests a time for us to step back from the hustle of the world, from the bustle of the world, and to reflect on past events, gather our thoughts, right? Plan future actions based on our reflections, and then come to an understanding of what this cycle of coming together and pulling apart is meant for us, right? Because everything's about coming together, pulling apart, coming, it's breathing, right? Breathing energy. Now, while it's about privacy in traditional human design, it also deals with how we communicate our experiences with others and who we choose to share it with, when we choose to share them, how we share them, right? And hopefully, when we do this, it is coming from a place of maturity and wisdom, right? So being able to look backwards, see the story, see the story for what the story is, right? And the negative vibe that might be attached to it. And then being able to fast forward it a little bit, maybe even just to the now, and be able to see how the rightness of that experience has come to pass. And even if it hasn't yet, because that's always a possibility, is to see how in the future this could be a place of real interesting development and maturity in your life, right? So, um, with the earth, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that in just a minute. With the earth is sitting at the gate 18, which is located on the root center, so the very bottom center, and it is called the gate of sensitivity And it is a gate where we are very aware of the need or the want or desire to belong, to be together with others. So it focuses us on our relationships and also the underlying emotional needs that we have in the context of our relationships and the drive that we have to fulfill those relationships. It's on the root center. So it has a push to it, right? It has a drive to it. And it's moving from the root over to the emotional center. So it's reaching out for that emotional connection. So it becomes emotional sensitivity and awareness. It enhances that for us, right? Becoming aware of our own needs, but also how those are reflected to us by other people in our lives. And then we develop a sort of intuitive understanding of how to approach others. Right? There's a very deep sensitivity here. This can be even psychic sensitivity. Not so much psychic as in we think of intuition, but more of this feeling energy that we have, right? Something that we feel within ourselves. And despite its sensitivity and being, worried perhaps about how one will be accepted or not within a family or a friendship or a network, it reaches out for connection. Right, it's definitely the need to find nurturing relationships that will carry you on and help build a stable foundation for you in your life, right? It's um it's why we interact with one another because there's this need to belong. In our earliest days as humans on this planet, it was safety and survival to be with others, right? You didn't do so well if you were on your own, right? So we started the whole idea, this gate 19, which is one of the older gates in the body graph, um, really anchors us in tribe or anchors us in this energy of connection. So, with the sun and the earth in these two different places, we really have to balance this idea of retreating and withdrawing and wanting to be private or alone with the energy for social engagement because to be too withdrawn means that you're not connected. And then that feeling of I don't belong or I don't fit can get stronger. And so we need to balance those two things. We need to know that we have to have our personal space and that personal space with the sun at gate 33 is kind of highlighted because of the need for time to think and reflect on our experiences of the past, right? So that reflection can take us many directions, but it helps us to understand the experiences, right? Emotional engagement is being dictated to us by the earth at the gate 19, and it pulls us toward that emotional engagement with others, but also being sensitive to others' needs and wants and desires. It also suggests solitude in some way so that we can really understand ourselves in the context of others. So it's a really interesting week, right? It begins tomorrow, by the way. That particular energy is from July 30th until August 4th, right? So you'll know kind of how that is going to play out in your life. Now, this is also on the throat center, or the 33 is on the throat center. So it brings the need for conversation or for speaking out, communicating, right? And so it really becomes a place of mindful sharing, right? Where you're not just blurting and dumping on others. It is calling for us to really know when it's right to speak something and to share and when it's not. Something funny happens in this gate. This is kind of the gate of the secret keeper, right? This gate the people that have this gate are really good at holding onto other people's stories or holding on to other people's secrets, right? Until the gate 13, it's opposite. The opposite of the channel, the 3313 forms a channel that connects the identity center to the throat center. When the 33 connects with the 13, the funniest thing happens. Like accidentally, the stories tumble out, the secrets tumble out. It's pretty funny to watch happen, but also can be a problem, right? So while the 33 can hold on to the secret, it is also sometimes an accidental sharing of said secrets that can happen. And when, of course, this happens, it is a time for us to have compassion for both the secret keeper and the person who was sharing. Compassion towards others is here in a big energetic way, encouraging us to approach relationships with empathy and then also with sensitivity. Now, if we look at this through quantum human design, it's not going to be completely different, but it is going to be a little bit different, right? Upgraded, moved forward and toward this now age that we are in. And in quantum human design, the gate 33 is called retelling. And we really get the idea then this is one of the storytelling gates of human design, along with the gate 56, which likes to tell stories. Sometimes the gate 44, which is holding on to the past, brings up the past and brings in these stories. And in quantum human design, what we see in this gate, that this is where we're encouraged to share our stories, but also from a place of wisdom and reflection. So we don't just want to rehash what happened and, this person said this and it hurt my feelings and then I got in trouble at work and I got fired or blah blah blah, this person cheated on me or y- you know you know how we are, right? We take stories and everything that happens to us becomes a story. And this particular opportunity then is for us to reframe, retell the stories that we tell ourselves about our experiences. That might mean we say, yeah, this happened and it sucked. And then this is what I've learned from that experience. And this is how I see it impacting me in the future. Or even, taking the past and looking at it from, how is this helping me in the future? How is this benefiting me as I go into, my future? Because everything that happens is really in service to the highest and best, even if it sucks, right? We don't always see what that's about. But we still think about this gate in quantum human design as a gate of privacy and withdrawal. There is still this idea of needing to withdraw a bit to reflect, and then to ensure that what is communicated to others is thoughtful, right? Is meaningful, is mature, right? Throwing out the big M word, mature. And then the gate 19 in quantum human design is called attunement. And this is the one that I really think I finally got this gate when when quantum human design came out. Because this gate is about our emotional need for connection. And yet with sensitivity being the word that they used with regular traditional human design, I didn't quite get it. I felt like, it's on the root center. Shouldn't it be on the emotional center if there was going to be this sensitivity, that kind of thing? And it was just kind of, me going around and round in my head. But once I heard attunement, then I realized what its worth really is in terms of the sensitivity. And that is because it's on the root center, it's a format energy. It is moving us outward for a purpose in our journey in this lifetime, and its purpose is outward toward the emotional center, the center for feelings and emotions, and the deeper connections that we have. So the emotional sensitivity of the gate 19 enhances our ability to be emotionally attuned to who is correct for us in our lives. But also, it's a sort of sensing of what's needed for comfort and for security for both ourselves and for other people. Right? We always say this thing like you can't choose your family even though you chose your family. We can't choose our family, but you can choose your friends who become like your family. And here is this sensing, right? This ability to tune in or attune to the vibe of the people that are the best for you, right? Or to the relationships that really support you. So in this, part of this energy in this channel, if you consider the 19, which moves on over to the 49, this is called the channel of love and marriage, right? Because this is where we bond, we connect from a very sensitive, emotional place. And then once in that connection, we nurture it, right? This is nurturing connections, nurturing and caring using sensitivity to really be able to foster that deeper, supportive bond with others, right? So the key themes then from a quantum human design perspective with the 33 and the gate 19 is this idea of reflective sharing, right? Being able to reflect on the stories, the personal histories, right? You have a history. And even though, consciously you can only go back so far, it still is a part of who you are and gain insights from those experiences. And then know that we are all storytellers, right? It's a human thing to be a storyteller, right? You meet up with a friend and you start telling about the experiences that you've had over the last time that since you've been together. So what are those? Right? They're stories. So potentially here, these this week gives us the opportunity to really think about what we're saying in terms of the story before we say it, right? How can we make it more emotionally uplifting? Um, and it doesn't. I'm not saying to be a Pollyanna either. That you don't have to take the story and just go, oh, and this happened, and it's so good. You can say and feel the energy of what happened, but just don't leave it hanging in that negative, right? Bring it back. This is why I'm doing this now, or this is how it's changed me. This is how it's uplifted my consciousness, or something to that effect. Now, the earth, of course, is also asking us to attune to the emotional frequencies around us, urging us to be empathetic to the stories that other people might be telling. So it has this sensitivity toward compassion, right? So it's a very compassionate energy. And hopefully, the whole week's purpose is to create a clearer pathway to empathetic leadership where we can really understand the impact of situations on other people, and then that deepens our connections to one another, right? That's the human thing again too. We want connection, right? And it's that connection that we seek, right? It is also possible, because we're still this is Leo energy, that there's a lot of creativity bound up in this particular storytelling thing, right? Um, it can be therapeutic storytelling, right? By that I mean where somebody in your life is experiencing something that you've come through, kind of a chironic experience, right? I had this happen to me, and perhaps this is how I came through it, and being able to share that as a way to help somebody move through a tragedy, a drama, a trauma, wisdom that you have that you can share with others. Here's the thing, though, and by the way, this can be through writing or speaking or art. Right? Creativity, right? The whole idea of Leo energy is about self expression. So, whatever natural self expression comes up for you, this is what you can do. Um, the caveat, though, is that this is the 33 is on the throat center, and the throat center is energy that must be invited out of us. So you don't just go up to somebody and say, "Yeah, so what? You're going through that problem. I did that too, and this is how it turned out for me." You just got to pull your big girl panties up and march forward, right? That unless that person asked you for your very blunt assessment of what it is that they're going through and how your experience can help them, you cannot say those things, right? Or you should not say those things because that can undermine your relationships, right? The problem with the throat center is we all want to talk. We all want to be heard, seen, valued, recognized, and we can't all be talking. So we have to wait for invitations. Even if your throat is defined, colored in your human design, it works best when you wait for the invitation. You might even say to someone, "Gee, I understand how you're feeling. I too went through that. Would you like to know how it helped me to retell the story?" And they say yes. And now you can talk, and now you can share, and now they're listening, right? They can hear what you have to say, your contribution. Um, Otherwise, they don't hear you. It's just so much this, "Meh, meh, meh, meh," right? So don't get yourself into that. Now, challenges to watch out for this week. And this is kind of big because there's so much going on, right? Even though I'm telling you there's not a big week in terms of the astrology, there tends to be this overlap between all of the different things that have happened and the transits that are happening and planets as they move forward are still triggering events and things. So while it's a quieter, like there's no new injection of real horrible stuff, perhaps, or challenging things, um, it's still possible we're living out the experiences from previous, right? So it's not like it's gone. It just integrates and integrates and integrates. Sometimes that's easier than other times. But we still have to watch out for overwhelm at this point in time. And that overwhelm coming from emotional input, emotional output, right? There's just this deep sensitivity that's brought on by the gate 19 in the root center can really lead to overwhelm in our emotions. So we have to ensure that we have practices to ground and center ourselves so that we're not just spilling emotion all over others. And the other side of the coin is that people who aren't aware of the energy of this week may be spilling their emotional energy out onto us. And what do we do with that? Because in a way, we've all become story keepers, right? So we're taking in some of that storytelling energy that's emotional, that's sensitive, that's dramatic, or maybe traumatic from others around us. So we have to ensure that we're grounded, right? We can't control another person's grounding. Stay grounded, right? And make sure that you're not reactive to what others are sharing with you. And then make sure you balance the privacy withdrawing energy of the sun at gate 33 with the sharing energy of the highest expression of the gate 33. All right. So it's a really good week. It's a powerful time for emotional growth, for sharing and for connection, for reflection on the stories and how you tell the stories. Um, so, giving us a deep appreciation for the emotional connections that we have with one another, nurturing ourselves and so forth, but nurturing self and others. Just watch out for the emotional spilling energy. All right. Going back to my group here this morning. Let's see. Got to go back a little bit. Jolie, good morning to you. Elima M is new. Hi. Hello. Welcome. 33-1 North Node and a 33-2 Moon hanging gate design here. So to me, that kind of sounds like you are, you might even be like the family historian, right? The person who's carrying the stories for the family. And partly, when you get filled up, you withdraw, right? You can only carry so much. Um, and maybe, that I always, I think of the storytelling energy of the 33 as the wisdom when we are able to look back at history and not repeat it, right? So we can look backwards, we can take the lessons, we can take the best of it, and we can build upon what's in the now with it and take it off into the future, right? Moving it forward. So you might even be someone who's interested in things like genealogy or, family histories, or you have lots of people that tell you everything. That happens with the 33 too. Pauline, good morning to you. Anyone had physical symptoms in the brain area such as HBP? Is that high blood pressure since huge solar flares? I'm guessing some people have. Jolie says hello to everybody. Elimum, oh, I don't even know how to say this. Ellie May M. 18 Saturns. not sure what that is. Jolie says, I left a job Thursday, got hired at a new and better job on Friday, and today is my first day on the new job. Congratulations to you, Jolie. When it's right, it's right. Pauline says, solar flares affect us based on parts of the body, or if the sun in Leo is heart, such as stroke, heart attacks during high heat, if not hydrating. Well, it's really, that is interesting because Leo is a sign that rules the heart, everything to do with the heart, everything to do with the back or the spine, right? The spinal area. And then when we're talking about heart, we can be talking also about um, the problems of the heart. So we usually talk about it, the creativity, the love, the blessings, the gratitude, all those full, wonderful, joyful feelings that come from the heart. But also when there is the negative expression of it, there can be the more difficult heart expressions. So heart attacks and strokes, high blood pressure, anxiety, palpitating, um, tension. And, over time, that is, something that happens, not necessarily just a one and done. Although the one thing I would say about Leo and its rulership of the heart is it's really about our following our desires, doing what we love, um, being what we love to be, and not hiding ourselves behind who we think we should be, doing what we think we should be doing what others have thought of that we should be doing. And, over time, that eats away at the heart, right? Every decision that you make to not be true to yourself eats away at the heart center or impacts it in some way. So while I would never say that, if you're a Leo or the Leo part of your chart creates heart problems, it's not that. It's not a cause and effect thing. It's more a correlation, right? So looking at your life and where are you second guessing yourself? And where are you not supportive of yourself? Right? Those things can all be, you know, digging away at the Leo part of your chart. So it could be expressed through the back or the spine, spinal issues. Um, sciatica, I think, is more Aquarian, but that makes sense because that's a sign opposite of Leo. When we're looking at this heart energy, things like high blood pressure is something. I mean, the body goes through these times of these changes and what have you, but it brings it to our attention when the sun is in Leo. And this is a great time for you then to realign, right? If your back is out of alignment, your spine is hurting, or you've injured your back, you've got to ask yourself the question of what it is that is out of alignment because the spine holds us straight up, right? So it's about alignment. And when we're out of alignment or misaligned, we have pain, right? Or we have problems with balance or harmony in our lives. So, taking a look at how they correlate, not how they caused, right? Not the cause, but the correlation, and strengthening those parts, right, that are weak or have been being beaten up in terms of the energy that you're expressing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Blood pressure is heart related. Now, there's also the heat issue. I think you said something about heat exhaustion. Well, Leo also rules heat exhaustion, which is not crazy since it's Leo season is like midsummer and it's hot, at least northern hemisphere, and people are still doing their jobs outside and they're doing it in higher temperatures and often not given more breaks because it's hot, not giving more opportunities to get in the shade if you're an outdoor worker. So we have to go with self care, right? Making sure you have enough water, that you take enough time to get cool, that kind of thing. So heat exhaustion, also a Leo specific part of the body that can get out of whack. Um, and Tom says, sounds like your mic has a loose connection. I don't know how it could. It's just plugged in. It's plugged in. Um, Pauline says, root to ground stuff to this third for collective besides ourselves. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Pauline, but Christine also hears the same audio scratchiness. I don't know. I can't change it. I wonder if my hair is hitting it. No, I don't have earrings on. It's not hitting my mouth. So I hope that's clearing up. Patty, hello to you. TJ, good morning to you. My gig has a high-end art fair working security. Awesome. Um, moving energy, boxing and taping. Good job. Natasha, good morning. She says, I am living these interactions for the last month. Uh, Ellie May says, yes, breaking loops. Chester's mom, good morning. Lo, wow, I will post a link I sent to a friend about receiving sun on the spine. How connections happen. I love it. Um, thank you, Patty. You gave this to me, right? This is the one that you gave me. A Leo is a lion, a line. Leo is a lion, a lion, a line. I got it, Tom. That's awesome. Okay, it's better now that Christine says thank you. And perfect. So it must have been something I was doing. I was getting too into my talking this morning. All right, next thing. Now we're going to take a look at the moon. I'm going to do this kind of briefly because I do want to get to some other things here in terms of like Black Moon Lilith excitement. So the moon today is in Taurus, as I said, conjunct the planet Uranus. So there's this opportunity for shocks, surprise, lost my keys, can't find them, all of that. But the Taurus, the sign of Taurus with the moon is really about the search for stability and security, right? The getting closer to the ground, getting grounded, right? The Taurus moon emphasizes creating and maintaining that stable environment, right? The moon shows us the emotional energy that it takes to remain stable, right? And to have security. So, grounding emotions, right? Taurus gives us the opportunity to ground in emotional energy. And that might mean, focusing on the practical matters that make your basic needs met, right? So you're not pie in the sky during this period of time. You're kind of grounded down here. There's the whole sensuality and comfort thing as Venus rules the sign of Taurus. And it brings the emphasis on sensuality, on beauty and harmony, focusing us on, aesthetics in some way, right? But it is a time when the moon is through Taurus, and it really can be a time to indulge in the senses. Like this morning, I found myself, I have this scent, what is that thing called? A heat, like a warmer, and you put different scents on them. Well, my friend Michelle, who stayed at my house when I went to Vegas for my sister's funeral, she left me these little cupcake holder things with different scents in them to put on my warmers. So this morning I was doing the whole, let's heat this one up. Nope, don't like that smell. Okay, let's heat this one up. Nope, not that one. Third one. Oh, ooh, yeah, I want that one, because we're very sensitive to those things, and the things that feel good, smell good, taste good, are the ones that we want around us today, right? There's also persistence and determination. This is a sign that the moon moving through can really trigger us to move outside of our comfort zones. When we are Taurus energy is comfortable. It's comfortable energy. And it takes an infusion of energy to move them off the place that they're in. So the moon comes through here and will highlight perhaps the emotions around where there's discontent because you feel stuck versus where it is perhaps that you've been changing too much and you're searching for stability. So both of those things, right? There's the need for more stability perhaps, but on the other hand, where you're feeling restless because you're in a comfort zone that you can't break free from. Okay. So both of that. So we have all of that energy going on. The sun, or excuse me, the moon will also be in a sextile to Neptune as she completes that cycle through Taurus. She'll come into the 29th degree. And at the 29th degree, she will form the sextile with Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. And by the way, this is where we're left with for an hour long time as the moon moves into the void later on this afternoon. So let's talk about that because the sextile of the moon to Neptune is very intuitive, right? It's very much It can be clairvoyant. It can be highly sensitive to energies like that are going on, the vibe, the frequency of the energy. And for people like Pauline out there, and maybe others of you, it can also translate into sensitivity in the body, right? In the body. And that can cause, some symptoms that, like she was talking about the heart type symptoms, but the sensitivity, like, is it mine or is this something that's going on around me? Am I just embodying too much of the emotional energy? Or because it's so psychic, is it a possibility that you're sensing something that is to come or sensing something that somebody around you is experiencing? So, it turns out that the moon in that longer term sensitive place with Neptune can be very good for us in terms of listening to your intuition, right? Or tuning in to your intuition. Now the moon moves void, of course, at 1:59 p.m. Pacific time. Remember, for those of you who are kind of new or who haven't heard this before, the void is the spot where the moon is not making any other new connections until she changes signs. So, a void, of course, moon means that she is preparing to move to the next sign, but she's still in the pattern of the sign that she's still in, right? In this case, the pattern of Taurus that she is stuck in, but not necessarily stuck because to me, this time, because the sextile to Neptune is the last connection she makes, maybe we have kind of an elevated sensitivity to information coming in from others, coming in from the collective, coming in through source, God, right? Intuition, heightened intuition for that time. Now, the void breaks at 2:28 p.m. West Coast time, and that will be the time that the moon moves into the sign of Gemini. So that's literally, God, that's not even an hour. That's like 31 minutes, 32 minutes. It's not very long, but that's okay. We don't need it to be long. We just need to know I can tune in right here, right now, and I can tap into information that I need to move forward. Now, that transiting moon conjunct Uranus, right? We talked about that she's right there, right now. It can be about emotional surprises. It could be about sudden shifts in your mood, like moving from anger and upset to joyfulness, right? Or just melancholy to joy or joy to melancholy, right? These are, and without anything that necessarily created it. It can be unsettling because it feels moody when the moon is conjunct Uranus. And it can be also a time of unexpected emotional insights, like that aha moment that comes when you suddenly realize what something has been telling you, or about, something that you've witnessed and how it, what it means for you. It can also be disruption energy. Disruption works for our benefit, though, because it upsets the stability or it moves us from the comfort zone. So remember, this is Taurus and Uranus is in Taurus. So the conjunction might disrupt your daily normal routine that you're used to, shaking up your comfort zone, causing you to feel so restless that you move, right? You change, you transform. So it could be unexpected outer world environment type things that happen that create this, or something that comes up from the inner world that does this. So, just be aware, be prepared. There's also an impulse for freedom that comes along with Uranus. And that's something that's kind of gotten uh, a little bit lost in all of this because a lot of what's been happening in the world while Uranus has been in Taurus has been breathtaking, right? Takes your breath away. And sometimes it feels so traumatic and so dramatic, like one day after another, something new is happening and something's changing and something's upset, that we fail to realize that the whole pulse of this Uranian energy is about freedom. It is about a desire for independence. It's spontaneity. So it moves us to change and it moves us to let go of any areas of our lives where we've been suffocating or where there's been this suffocating routine that we've been caught up in. So the influence is to upset that by causing us to change, right? Spontaneously, even taking action in a new direction, right? A new direction helps us to break up the pattern of the way that we've maybe been too secure or too stable, right? So that can happen. So embrace change. That's about the biggest message I can come up with for the moon in the conjunction to Uranus today. But we're just, for our part, if something unexpected happens, just watch out for emotional reactivity. Right? That don't be reactive, be responsive, and work through your own angst, your own anger, your own upset first before you blurt it out there onto somebody else. Okay. Now, the moon moves into Gemini later. So now the energy changes up from the more stable oriented, grounding, practical Taurus to the more communicative and restless Gemini energy. So there's this enhanced focus on communication, on curiosity, on information, taking in information, but also sharing information. And as far as social interactions go, this is a social sign. So it could be more conversations with more people. I always expect when the moon moves into Gemini that I'm going to be kind of glued to my phone uh, with text messages or emails or conversations that are coming up. It's just the way it goes when the moon is in Gemini. So we have increased communication, we have elevated interest in communication as well, right? So we feel more inclined to chat or to share or to socialize while the moon makes her transit through the sign. And Gemini's influence is also one that has a multitasking capability. Now, multitasking is a good thing if you are able to handle that. On the other hand, this can be energy that then causes you to scatter yourself or scatter your energy or your focus. And that can create problems with trying to get anything done, right? It's just sort of not happening. Curiosity and learning, though, are also a part of this. So, finding new paths to new information, pursuing knowledge, right? Purposefully going in to find information, engaging in discussions then with others about what you've discovered is a big deal during this period of time. Gemini also rules short trips and journeys, travel. And remember, right now, the planet Mercury that rules Gemini is in the shadow of his next retrograde, which happens on August 4th. So literally, less than a week away. And there can also be miscues in our communication right now during this time that can trigger emotional responses or reactions. There's also the potential for travel disruptions and so forth. So just be watchful for that and don't let it, cause an emotional upheaval for you. The biggest key, I think, with the moon and Gemini for all of us is to learn to be adaptable and to be flexible because this is a mutative energy or a mutable energy. So it's an energy that thrives in change, right? So does the moon in some ways, right? The moon is always changing, right? Its face is getting bigger or it's getting smaller. So it's already showing us the changes of moods. And when we have it in Gemini, there is more opportunities for that change to create restlessness or uh, to create a sense of too many things happening all at one time. So we might get overwhelmed by all of that. All right. Any questions about the moon stuff? Hi, Catherine. It's good to see you out there. And let's see, Tom, watch out for emotional reactivity. Too late for that. Good morning, Terry. It's good to have you with me this morning. Okay. So, emotional reactivity is your response. It's response ability, right? And and we're all going to mess it up sometimes. Like we're all going to blow up and look back and go, "Yikes. Why did I do that?" And that's just part of being human too, right? Experiencing those things. And interestingly enough, this is a good segue. Thanks, Tom, for bringing this up because the energy of the moment is about relationships, right? In The black moon Lilith is in the sign of Libra now. So she, she's the body out there. She's actually a mathematically contrived point, right? She's not an actual physical. There is an asteroid Lilith, but when we're talking about the black moon Lilith, we're not talking about an asteroid or a physical body. She's sort of this hidden aspect that we have, right? That can be mathematically uh, brought up. And Libra is the sign she's now moved into, and that means that the issues in relationships, the shadows that are being held on to are coming up. And Libra is a sign, of course, that wants balance and harmony and justice, fairness, right? Fairness for all. And so that need for connection, for balance in our relationships then becomes the backdrop for exploring the deeper, darker emotional issues that separate us in our relationships, right? It's an exploration on the deeper levels of interpersonal relationships, the dynamics between us, right? Um, and the transit of the black moon Lilith here is a 9-month transit, right? She'll stay in this sign for 9 months. And it encourages us to reevaluate equality, autonomy in our close relationships, right? So, along with the drive to address anything that is an underlying imbalance in our lives or in our relationships, and then set out to right those, right, to make them more even in balance. Now, key themes with the black moon Lilith, she is not a comfortable point in our chart because she's representing the shadow, right? The part we don't see clearly, the hidden stuff, right? So in a way, she in Libra challenges us to look at the relationship norms or what we have accepted as normal in our relationships. And she's prompting us to look critically at those relationships. What does the fairness in a relationship mean? It could manifest as like questioning traditional roles. I think it's so interesting that the presidential candidate now is a woman here in the United States, and a Libra woman at that, with the black moon Lilith in Libra, disrupting the traditional roles that have been assigned to women, right? She's a disruptor in this course. Lover or hater, it doesn't really matter. She is a symbolic representation of this energy right now. You're like, you can't make this stuff up. So we may be questioning all the traditional roles, the expectations that we've placed upon one another, the balance of power, right? The balance of power. Think about that, right? That's a big one. Now, there's also a desire here with the Black Moon Lilith to bring authenticity into the conversation in our relationships, right? Deepening, I guess you could say, our emotional honesty with one another. So Lilith's influence here is really delving into the emotional truths in your relationships, pushing for that deeper authenticity, being true to yourself, and honesty that might have previously just been sort of, not paid too much attention to. Remember, Libra is a people pleasing sign. They're social and they tend to want to placate and play nice. They might even tell you what they think you want to hear versus telling you the truth. They may, do things for others even if they don't want to because that's just how they are, right? They nurture others first. So this is a time to disrupt that pattern and to take a look at what are you really doing, right? Explore that. Explore self-nurturing. It is also a time to explore independence versus partnership. There's so much we could talk about that, right? Because we want to be independent, even in a relationship, right? Nobody says that you have to disappear into the relationship, right? A relationship works but best as a collaboration when both partners are able to remain in their own authentic selves, their own autonomy, right? So we don't want you disappearing into another person, but to have a relationship on some level requires the give and the take, right? The balancing and the harmonizing and the recognition of when you're doing too much or when you're not receiving enough, right? Balancing that redefines our relationships. And the Black Moon Lilith in Libra is literally about rebalancing that particular or redefining our relationships and how they function and possibly setting new boundaries, right? New boundaries, exploring non traditional relationship forms, whatever that means for you, allowing new forms perhaps that allow for greater equality or personal freedom, right? You don't want to be squelched, but you also don't want to be squelching another. So looking at all of that. So I expect, relationship adjustments during this next 9 months. And it might be a great time for getting a relationship reading done or getting some kind of couples therapy or counseling done. Workshops on communication. How do we openly communicate? Especially focusing on balancing speaking and listening, right? That's a big deal. Expressing your needs, like what do I really need, and setting boundaries in relationships. Personal development as well. This is a great time for assertiveness training, right? If you're someone that's too meek or too unwilling in the past to really step up and say your truth, it's time for you to advocate for yourself or find a class or course or workshop that helps you do that. I would expect to see social justice movements amping up a bit during this next 9 months as well. The advocacy for equality, right? That's a big theme with the Black Moon Lilith. And it's also a theme that we see in our outer world as we're always seemingly needing to balance the energy between the masculine and the feminine. It is an energy that supports fighting for justice and a better balance in our societal structures. So, changes along those lines happening and hosting community discussions. I feel like, it's the way that people get heard, right? Their voices get heard. So, we do have to watch out for things, right? Conflict in particular in your relationships, the disturbance of the peace. Lilith disturbs. Um, she causes us to address the undercurrents that are imbalances that are disturbing the peace in your relationships. So be prepared for potential conflicts or uncomfortable discussions to go on over these next 9 months. Struggling with compromise. There's the good kind of compromise where we work a deal and we negotiate and we tactfully explore options. And then there's the other kind of compromise, which is where I give it all away, right? There's no balance here. I'm just sort of, giving up, abdicating my responsibility, that kind of thing. That's negative compromise. And then we also have to watch out for this one interesting thing. And all of us have been guilty of this at one point or another. And that is about projecting our issues outward onto others. It's a challenge, right? That we'll have to work through. In a way, what we do when we do that is we're avoiding self responsibility. We're not we're projecting the shadow out onto our partner as a way to blame them for what our experience has been. But then again, that's abdicating our responsibility or choice in how we chose to show up in a situation, right? Or in that relationship. So we're being challenged to confront this, to transform this hidden, that transform the hidden or the suppressed things that are going on in a relationship, striving for greater fairness, greater authenticity. And by embracing this energy, right, really calling this in, we can make significant strides in our relationships, both our personal relationships, but also the ones that are, the relationships, say, between the people and the government, right, the bigger relationships that we have there. So, the first thing that happens with the Black Moon Lilith as she moved into the sign of Libra is she came into a trine with Pluto. And she's still in that trine, right? Giving a 15-degree orb for Pluto transits. She's at 3 degrees of Libra. He's at 0 degrees of Aquarius, both air signs. And this forms a trine that transforms and empowers us to live out the highest in our relationships, right? So that is so cool. The relaunching of the power dynamics in your relationships can be fun, can also be tricky, can also be disturbing, right? Disturbing of the peace. The whole idea is to empower us through our relationships. Here's the other place it plays out. And I know it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to have to wrap this up, but challenging social norms, bigger stage, bigger energy with Pluto involved here, longer impact of this kind of energy with Pluto and the Black Moon Lilith, advocacy for equality, given Aquarius energy's association with humanity and with societal progress toward equality, right? Balancing everything. I see Lilith's role here as a challenge for all of us to create that, to be in that forward looking, more progressive standpoint, right? We're looking at progress for the future, right? I don't mean it as a political movement. I mean progress, progressively moving forward. Maybe taking innovative approaches to social problems, seeing things in a new way, getting insights, into why things are happening the way they're happening, breaking free from repression. It's a big deal, right? Oh, I have a blank page here. Nice. So apparently I'm done. There's a lot more I could say for that. Look to where Libra is in your own chart. That will be the house that the Black Moon Lilith is transiting through and where she is bringing up that energy. So take a look at that, wherever that is. That's the impact for your relationships and for bringing up the shadows of those relationships. All right. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be live again on Wednesday because Tam will be with me, and we will be taking a look at the very chaotic energy of August. And this is one, if you don't usually come to that show, this is one you need to come to. There's a very tense T square forming in August that will impact all of us, including the bigger entities out there, governments and the peoples of the world. And it's tricky, right? T squares are always tricky. So we're going to try to dive into that and explain that a little bit more, giving you at least 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks notice before that particular transit hits your chart. All right, guys. Oh, I should do a card. Almost forgot. And instead of a card today, because I don't know, oh, I did, here it is. Because one of the themes that we talked about today was compassion, right? I'm going into my Cultivating Compassion card deck, simple everyday practices for discovering peace of mind and resilience. So I just love these cards and I haven't used them lately. So let's see what we get. Oh, this one sticks to me. And it's an otter. Oh, that is so cute. And see, look at this card. Isn't that beautiful? Otter. And it says on the back, it's card number 54. It means gratitude, right? And it says, I choose to make peace with myself every night before bed. I choose to make peace with myself every night before bed. So let's look at this a little deeper. And it says, no matter what has happened during your day today, tomorrow is a fresh new start. If today wasn't a great day for you, make peace with yourself before going to sleep. If it was a spectacular day, again, make peace with yourself before going to sleep. Cultivate your ability to be comfortable in your skin. Know that you are good enough today, but will aspire to be even better tomorrow. Expressing gratitude throughout the day is important. This is a wonderful technique to help you embody peace before you go to sleep. As you settle into bed, take a moment to review your day, find contentment in the highlights, and take a moment to embrace the lowlights. If you had a challenging day, free yourself from the need to construct stories, Gate 33, about how things might have gone differently or better. Acknowledge the challenges and remind yourself that you are human. Just like you, people all around the world experienced a challenging day, and just like you, they're all human. Remember that tomorrow is a fresh start. Take a few deep breaths, Relax your body and express gratitude. Gratitude for being alive, gratitude for having a place to lay your head, and gratitude that you have a whole new day tomorrow to learn, grow, and explore. Self reflection. Oh my God, Tom. Self reflection. How often do I go to bed anxious or upset? If it is often, what do I need to do to make peace with myself every night? And an informal practice might be before going to sleep, I will list three or more things from today for which I am grateful. All right. That's a really cool message for the day. I choose to make peace with myself every night before bed and embodied in the face of this lovely little animal, the otter. All right, guys. Now that is it for me today. I will see you on Wednesday morning, same time with Tam to discuss August. And until then, take care. Bye for now.